Convicted grooming gang member Kasir Bashir is on the run, and police believe he may have fled Britain, avoiding having to ever answer for his crimes. Bashir was convicted in absence last month alongside 6 others. Evidence given during the trial was described by reporters as some of the worst they've ever heard.
Today, another Pakistani rape gang was convicted. 7 men, there they are, 7 men have been found guilty of grooming abuse offences against 2 teenage girls in Rochdale between 2001 and 2006. They are getting named and shamed, OK? We've got Mohammed Zahid, Naheem Akram, Mohammed Shahzad, Nisar Hussain, Rohiz Khan, Mushtaq Ahmed and Kasir Bashir. The girls were abused in alleyways, warehouses, taxis, filthy houses, rank mattresses, damp basements. It's horrific. Our reporter Charlie Peters was at the particular case. He says that the evidence was some of the worst he'd ever heard. 4 of these men, though, 4 of these men, Zahid, Bashir, Ahmed and Khan, were born in Pakistan. So they are Pakistani. They came to Britain and then they committed this kind of abuse. Should they be deported, do you think?
Yes. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt. It's common sense. It's common sense. Well, just before I came on air, this news broke. A new report from the National Audit on Group-Based Child Sexual Exploitation and Abuse. It's a big report, this. It's due out next week. Well, the Sun newspaper claims that they've had advance sight of this report, and they say that this report, it's the first one of its kind, specifically links illegal immigration to violence against vulnerable girls. OK? Now, apparently, the government is afraid of this report because of stuff like this. So the Home Office has said, oh, well, look, hey, nothing is more important than protecting vulnerable children. And we are determined to crack down on vile grooming gangs once and for all. That's why we ordered a rapid national audit to uncover the true scale of the horrific abuse. This report, alongside our response, will be published shortly. But let's be honest, they're terrified of civil unrest, aren't they? They're absolutely terrified of it. And I think that they fear civil unrest more than they fear young British girls being abused by foreign men.
The men had groomed girls as young as 13 to use as sex slaves. Now aged 50, Bashir started abusing young British girls when he was in his 20s. The Pakistani disappeared the night before he was due to appear at a Manchester Crown Court, sparking the manhunt. DS Alan Clitheroe of Greater Manchester Police admitted they'd made mistakes. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper told GB News there were still more than 1,000 grooming cases under investigation.
That's your plans for a grooming gangs national inquiry. When are we going to see who's running that and when will it be up and running?
We'll set out the details as soon as we can. Obviously, this is an issue we've taken immensely seriously. What I can tell you, though, is that we now have, I think, nearly 1,000 cases that had previously been closed by the police with no further action, where there had been allegations around grooming, around the most vile child sexual exploitation, around the rape of children. Those cases now being reviewed and to look for new evidence. So alongside the national inquiry that we set out in response to the Louise Casey's review, crucially, we've also got these police cases being reopened because, frankly, when you're faced with these appalling crimes, the most important thing is to get the perpetrators behind bars. So it's those police investigations that I really want to see taken forward.
Interesting you mentioned Baroness Casey's report there, because she did mention to one of the rape gangs that there was evidence of non-UK national criminals involved in those gangs. We saw another boatload of young fighting-age men, all men on that boat we were following yesterday exclusively on GB News. Are you putting migrants' rights above the safety of women and girls in this country?
So let me say 2 things in response to that. First of all, I have already announced, even before the Louise Casey report came out, much stronger changes to the law, as part of the new law that we're bringing in order to prevent any sex offenders being able to claim asylum in the UK. That had not happened before, and I think we should have that stronger law in our country. That law going through, sadly, has currently been opposed by both the Conservatives and Reform. I think we should have that stronger law in place. The second thing is we just shouldn't have these dangerous boat crossings in the first place. That's why, going back to where we started this conversation, we're taking action across the board to build the foundations of a new approach. So being able to have returns to France, being able to make sure that we can have stronger law enforcement to go after the criminal gangs, and new counter-terrorism style powers also in the new legislation that sadly is still being opposed by other parties. I really think they should support these actions to go after the gangs, strengthen the law and make sure that proper standards are maintained.
Groups of women feeling threatened by migrant crime are banding together to campaign against illegal immigration to protect their safety.
There is a national emergency here against women and girls when it comes to migration, both legally and illegally. As you rightly pointed out, illegal immigrants are 24 times more likely to commit crimes than native Brits. And when it comes to even legal immigrants, I believe it's 3.4 times more likely to commit crimes than native Brits, sex crimes in particular than native Brits. I mean, I think one crime is far too many, one sex crime is far too many, and we can see it in our streets. Women and girls don't feel comfortable, walking home, they don't feel comfortable getting the train or the bus home, and even if they get a taxi, there is no guarantee for their safety. And the elephant in the room here is that it's because of illegal immigration. And we can see the epitome of this is the grooming gangs, where hundreds of thousands of girls across the country have been they had to deal with the most horrific crimes imaginable. They were raped, they were groomed, they were abused, they were chained to radiators by many dozens of men per victim. I think this is absolutely horrific.
What about Krish's argument there that if you look at overall sexual assaults and offences, organised rape gang activity is a small share of the overall number of sexual assaults?
I think different crimes need to be dealt with differently, and I think what we're dealing with now is an imported crime. I think it's 1 in 4 sex crimes are committed by foreign nationals. That means 1 in 4 sex crimes didn't have to happen. They only happened because of this extremist mass immigration policy that we've had over the past few decades. That's the reality of it. And I agree, we shouldn't dismiss, other types of crime. But at the same time, these men coming over here, they're acting a certain way because of where they've come from, because of the cultures that they've come from, and because of, quite frankly, racism towards white people, these white girls, which they, see as sluts and whores through their own words.
Well, yeah, we should just apologise to any viewers who may have been offended by some of the words there.
Nicholas Dunning, GB News.